Team's excited to be here. You know, I'm proud of the effort our team has played with here over the last couple of weeks. Hasn't necessarily been easy. You know, we've dealt with injuries, we dealt with a lot of adversity, but I give a lot of credit to the kids in our locker room, the guys in our locker room, for believing in each other and continuing to fight and persevere. So we understand what's at stake, and we play a program we have a lot of respect for. Obviously, there's a lot of familiarity that I'm sure you're going to talk about, but you know, it really comes down to the players on both sides don't have that familiarity and their ability to sort of step up in the moment, and we're excited for Thursday.
We'll go right in the front row.
Hey, Chris. Last week you talked about how fortunate you felt to be staying on the East Coast and the Eastern time zone for that first weekend. Coming out here, what are the biggest challenges of coming to the West Coast, and how have you been able to deal with that since you got into town?
Yeah, I think adrenaline takes over. You know, the biggest challenge is Arizona, and that's it. You know, it's not the time change. You know, the flight's over with, the game's late, which we're fine with. I mean, we've had an awful lot of time to prepare, just as Arizona has. The biggest challenge is their team, and being able to defend them and being able to figure out a way to manufacture baskets against them, period.
Go on the left against the wall.
Coach, you just talked about the challenges, but what are the challenges of facing someone you know so well in Sean Miller?
I mean, I think that story was a story that played well the first time around. You know, I think, you know, it's great seeing him and his family and vice versa, but, you know, my players don't care about Sean, just as Sean's players don't care about me. And it is about our teams, and they've had a great season. He's done great things at Arizona since he's been there. And, you know, we want to take advantage of the opportunity. You know, our guys have earned the right to be here in San Jose to play for an opportunity to get to the Elite Eight. And that's really what we're focused on. So, you know, it's each of us have a few calls from each other's playbook. But other than that, you know, players are going to have to execute and figure out a way to get the job done tomorrow night.
Go back in the front.
Chris, whenever an 11 seed gets this far in the tournament, phrases like bracket buster, Cinderella get thrown around. I'm well aware that you aren't concerned about outside labels, but do you think your team has exhibited Cinderella-like qualities in a basketball sense in defying some of the odds to get to this point?
I think it depends on whose expectations you're trying to fulfill. You know, if you're trying to fulfill maybe the outside world's expectations, sure, you know, we could be thrown in that box. But, you know, I'm more worried about the expectations within our own locker room. And if those are in check and if those are the priorities, then I don't feel like we feel like we're an underdog. You know, you're only an underdog if you feel like you're the lesser team. And, you know, I don't feel that way about our guys, and I don't think they feel that way about each other. Now, having said that, we recognize how good Arizona is and has been for the entire year. And so it's a huge challenge, but every time you go a step of the way in this tournament, every challenge becomes tougher.
Questions? Hands? Let's go back on the left.
Coach, I was reading somewhere this morning that you guys keep a jar of ashes in your locker room. If so, what exactly is that?
Well, I mean, I think it's been well documented that we had a tough February. You know, we lost Edmond at St. John's. We lost Trayvon for a stretch of games, and we played some really good teams. And you know, we lost 6 in a row. So I think it was after the 5th loss. You know, we decided to you know, have a calendar made for each one of our players and talk about February, the challenging teams that we played, the results that happened, and really wanted our players to focus on turning the page. And even after that losing streak, by every bracketologist known to man, we were still a part of the NCAA tournament. However, Selection Sunday was a couple weeks from then. So we had to figure out a way to be able to turn the page and know that as low as maybe we feel, as bad as we feel, there's a lot of good things that can happen if we have the right mindset. And so we decided to have our players sort of burn those calendars. You know, we did it in a big aluminum trash can in the locker room. We made sure the fire chiefs were out of the building. And then we bought an urn. Our GA, Alan Payne, went over to Walmart and well, he tried to buy an urn. The only one that was available had like, frogs and roses on it, so didn't think that was very appropriate. So we bought a clear jar, called it an urn. I've never seen one, so at least up close and personal, so I couldn't tell the difference whether it was an urn or not. Put the ashes in there as a symbolic gesture that February's gone. Let's concentrate and move forward in March.
Real quick, Coach, how often do you look at that?
Well, it's ever present. It's always on the scores table when we practice. It's always in the locker room when our guys come off the floor. We take it everywhere we go, so they're sort of forced to. Just as a reminder that good things and special things can happen as we look forward and not worry about what happened in the past.
Front row again.
Chris, against Maryland and Florida State, you were able to, in the interior, kind of go right at those teams. Does the fact that Markkanen can step out and shoot from range make it a little bit harder to attack the interior, or maybe easy in some cases?
I don't think it's easier to attack any of the teams in the tournament, but that's who we've always been. We wanted to be a team. We've always wanted to be a team that plays inside out first. We want to get the ball into the lane, whether it's through post-ups, through drives, through offensive rebounding, through plays. The team, I think, that gets the ball in there the most often gets to the foul line and can also generate better looks from the outside. And it's taken our team a little bit longer, especially with the loss of Edmond, who put so much pressure on the defense and got into the lane. But I've always been a big believer of that. And part of that is because that's what Sean and Skip taught me when I was assistants for them. And so we really haven't tried to veer. And I think our guys have done a terrific job in the postseason with that in mind on the offensive end.
Third row on the left.
Chris, Jim Wozarski at the Inquirer.
Hey,
Good to
Jim.
see you again. I know that there is a game, and the point is to survive and advance, but what does yet another Sweet 16 mean for you, for this program? I guess that it has been this many times since 08, 6 times, and
Right.
now you're, I think, 4th, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't take it for granted, and we don't take it for granted because we know how difficult it is to win, let alone one NCAA tournament game. To be able to get to the second weekend is especially meaningful. But, the eye of the needle gets smaller, and the teams are trying to get in to get to a Final Four. You're going to run against great programs, great coaches, experienced players, talented players. But that's not going to lessen our desire and our want for the game. I mean, we're here to win. People may not expect us to win, but as I said before, I really don't take a whole lot of stock in other people's expectations. We're here to win. We're here to compete and to win. And the team that does that best tomorrow night will win.